Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Headspace Podcast. It's your boy HSR.
What up? It's Prophetry.
And it's your boy Chris Chrome.
And it is episode 54. And before we get into that, and for the record, if you don't care about this or you heard the speech a couple of times, in the description you'll see the breakdown of the episode itinerary. But we're about to talk about the grind to 1,000 subscribers contest. So the goal is to try to hit 1,000 subscribers before the new year, over this month, because y'all are amazing people. Mm-hmm. And we believe and we trust that we can all get there together. So if, when we do hit the 1,000 subscriber marker, what we're going to do is give away some Amazon money to people. So first place will get $100 plus the right to request an album or something else for us to review. Second place will get $50 plus that request. Third place will get $25, and then you can even pick who reviews what and have some fun with it. All right, but to be eligible for that, you need to subscribe to the channel and then comment on the video about either us, the review, etc., or the album / whatever else we're reviewing in question, and then hit that like button. And then for every video that you do this on, you get extra entry into all of this. And then when the time comes, we are going to make a video announcing the winners, and boop, everything will be good, and y'all will be like, wow. Anyway, for episode 54, all the information's below in the description. Chris, tell us what it is.
So, for episode 54, we decided to go with Talib Kweli's Radio Silence.
Okay, right before we go anywhere else, the reason we landed on this is because, we seem to be... Aaron, this guy I talked to on Facebook, was telling me how dope this was, and a couple others, and he was like, yeah, all this music came out. And there was, nothing that I recognized that really came out this week, again, because I'm either ignorant or we're kind of... We'll get back on track and follow new albums soon.
Was there any hip-hop albums that came out, or just things that we didn't know?
I don't know. Oh, before we do a soda stream, I have Dr. Pete. You should try it. It's delicious, it's great, and it's cheaper than actual other beverages.
Agua.
And I have just natural flavor with a little bit of lime added.
Dope. Anyway, and we just did the Most Def review, and if you want to click on that after, it's right there. But, there hasn't been a lot that was new that looked like either we knew it, and we're trying to avoid looking stupid, jumping into shit we know nothing about. Mm-hmm. In general, it doesn't end well, so...
We have heard about Talib Kweli a little bit.
I've heard of him. I've been listening. I don't, I would say, as I've said multiple times, heard multiple songs and verses from the dude. This is the first time I've listened to a full album from the guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I know who... technically I listened to the Black Star album when I was younger.
Yeah.
But, I don't remember anything about it. And I was too young to understand the brilliance of hip-hop at that time, honestly. It took, even 6 months into reviewing albums before I started to really wrap my head around the brilliance behind something. Why Black on Both Sides was great. And then it kind of made me excited to even jump on this, even though it came out, 2 weeks back. And sorry about my voice. It was my work office party. And there was lots of yelling and alcohol, and I'm a little hungover, so whatever. Anyway, so I was excited for this, but just the exposure. I love his flow. That's always been my biggest attraction to Talib Kweli, is how he just kind of seems to be one of those guys who ignores the rules and does what he wants, and everything's just fucking full of punch and power and prolific use of the language. And so I was very curious, and I don't know. When did you guys encounter him?
So the first time that I encountered him was when I listened to the Black Star album. This was a while back, and I can't fully remember my reaction, but I think I was somewhat underwhelmed by it, despite the fact that people love it. And I think it was because I liked Most Def so much more that it made it really hard for me to appreciate the second half of that album. That was like a one-time thing, and I really didn't put a lot of thought into it, and it was years ago. So coming into this album with fresh ears, I really appreciated Talib Kweli a lot more than I did that first go-around.
Nice. I've never really heard of him, never really went out of my way to go listen to him, but I did hear him on other songs that we have reviewed and other songs we've covered, and this is the first time I've jumped in and really listened to it, so I went in here with fresh ears and ready to see what he can do.
Awesome. So, as you can see, we're not diehard fans. We're curious newcomers. Well, I like his flow. So let's talk about the title and that cover, Radio Silence. I think that woman is the speaker that you hear in front of that one song, but I could be wrong. I forgot to Google who is on the cover of the album. But I love the title, Radio Silence. It's one of those ones that just makes me think, like everyone's down. Nobody's connected. We just doing what we got to do out in the streets.
And it's funny because when you hear radio, you're thinking music, you're thinking energy, you're thinking, and it's like a contrast between happiness and sadness at the same time. I mean, silence isn't that. I guess silence is peaceful, but I wouldn't say it's happy at times.
The other thing I find this kind of an interesting contrast there. I'm not 100% sure what the title is intentionally going for, but in this time where social media is so huge and the radio has become a bit more of a relic of the past, it's kind of interesting that that he's talking about radio silence and like it's almost this idea of cutting yourself off, but also from the past versus the present in the case of radio.
That's interesting.
That is a really interesting point.
That gave me a thought right now. Could also be like maybe turning off social media, turning off the news, and kind of just like silencing the radio. Like we need a radio silence in a sense, like to kind of just get back to where we are and how we're feeding off all this information so quickly.
One of my buddies is a medical doctor, and he was having a conversation with me about like it's almost like medically necessary to spend like a disconnected period of time every day, just no music, no influx of sensation, because our brains are constantly hit with this overload. And man, I look at my life and I never stop. Whether I can justify it because I'm on the grind or whatever, but really from a health perspective, sometimes it's like I find myself more and more just sitting there quietly and not talking, just sometimes I'll sit in my room for like 30 minutes and just like think or whatever. And I guess, something like that is what I think of when I picture radio silence after you've described it and you described it. So that was cool.
Yeah,
nice.
I can feel that.
So you guys want to go on to the magic hour?
I just wanted to say that I also liked the art style of the album cover. It almost looks
paper, like paper laid.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how it's made, but it almost looks like a sort of painting of sorts, right?
Yes.
And it's just a really nice style. I like it a lot, and to me, Talib Kweli kind of represents this more thoughtful version of hip hop that is very artistic in nature, and I think the album cover suits his style quite well.
I appreciate that. So now we'll go on to the magic hour.
Was beautiful as Hawaiian beaches. Usually it's the students to be the truest teachers.
So that was something. Just like the first noteworthy thing on this track is how when the beat changes, he does not. His flow does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying he doesn't give a fuck. I'm saying his flow gives no fucks, and it unapologetically just demolishes whatever is in front of it in a way that I love. It's like he doesn't follow the rules. He does what the fuck he wants, but he looks cool doing it.
Well, I feel like it allows him to also give that emphasis on the message. Like, a lot of times, I feel like sometimes I do this as well. When a beat changes, I expect the artist to change their flow, right? But then if they don't, it's like you're still caught on what they're saying, and for me, I'm trying to figure out why they didn't switch, but at the same time, you're still hooked on the message and really like following that instead of getting lost in the beat.
Just to like add to that, it almost feels like he's made his point, but then as the beat changes and he doesn't change, he's just drilling his point in a little bit more. And then when it flips back into the thing, it's like he's not even done it, and he just drills it in even more. That's just the feeling of how I find his flow unapologetic. From a song perspective, like it starts off with this intro where he's like up all night. It's like 6:20 in the morning. This is the magic hour, and that's when I wake up. So I feel like it's the magic hour too, but I'm not up all night. But you get the sense he just doesn't sleep. He's working all the time. He's grinding, and then he just kind of introduces his like who he is a little bit to us on this track. Where he's been at, the kind of new vibe he's going for. I mean, I could be wrong about a little bit of the details here. It's just the sense of what I got. But there were so many great lines like, the chances of survival more shallow than winning lotto. The liquor that they swallow got them rattled playing Benny Blanco bravado. Look at him fronting for these models because he's why I said that is because he's also going in a little bit on fake rappers and hip hop and he really has a problem with, I guess, the content side of what a lot of rap is, and that makes sense based on what we saw with like what Mos Def was spitting back in '99. And I can only imagine Talib is still going to be on the righteous and pure because he's fucking sounds like he does here. Either way, so but the way he approached it, it didn't sound like he's trying to be the best. It just sounded like he is bothered by these inconsistencies. And in the same way when we did the Hobson thing and you guys may not have liked that review, but the things that he said had a lot of inconsistencies and it bothered us. You can click over there and dislike if you want over in that corner. Feel free, comment, be mean. But at the end of the day, I get the feeling that Talib is going through kind of the same thing. And I really enjoyed the way he delivered it because this guy, anyway, like I said, high level of humility. Yeah. And then otherwise, I love this part. It ain't no magic, just actual facts and logic here. Hip hop will flourish with nourishment and the proper care. Because it makes me think of that Mos Def track that started off his album, because we just did the review. And it starts off saying hip hop is who we are. It's what we make it. If we are smoked out, hip hop smoked out, and all that kind of shit. And so just making that kind of connection, it's like, hey, listen, we can still save hip hop because it's still just who we are, and we can still anyway. I really dug this motherfucking track in terms of the lyrical message. The beat was not my favorite. Ryan usually does the beat stuff. So I'm going to settle on a 4.25 because the flows, the rhymes are amazing, but the beat was a little hard for me to get into. It was short. It was sweet. It was fucking amazing. I know I've been talking a lot, and I'm going to let them talk. Please don't be mean.
Go for it.
I really enjoyed, and this is just very quick, to touch upon what you said with the magic hour and the time of 6:20. I caught that, and it gave me a feel of like the sun's rising. It's a new day. It's a new him. He's trying to bring a new era to hip hop, a new kind of fresh taste. Maybe he's trying to go back to his roots to bring that back. I got that feel as well, but that fresher taste to what hip hop is now. And I was like, that is a really cool way of looking at it. How he hasn't slept and he's still becoming a new person, even though he's still continuing. It's like consistent change. So I got a lot from that. That's really what I want to say.
I found that the production was like a pretty cool intro. It's got kind of these strings. This electric guitar comes in with these upbeat, energetic strokes, and then it very fittingly ties into some of what he's saying here. I live my life in the sunshine. It was as beautiful as Hawaiian beaches. It's like that is very much the type of energy of the beat, and he does a good job of fitting it with lyrics that match. One of the things that immediately pops out to me, it was such a funny thing for me because, as I mentioned earlier, I listened to that Black's album a while back, and Kweli for me was, I wouldn't say he was underwhelming, but he came across to me at the time as the weaker of the two MCs. And now listening to him here, he immediately comes off as very strong. His flow is great, but more than that, like, his vocabulary is great, the storytelling is great. There's this just slight enough level of imagery and abstraction that makes it feel like his words are painting a picture in a way that a lot of rappers can't pull off very well. Like the opening lines of his first verse when he says, "Back to the future like a DeLorean, documenting the struggles I'm huddling with historians, making a way back to Brooklyn like we the Warriors. Told you this man's story bordering on vainglorious." I have never heard a rapper use the word vainglorious, and it just, the flow is so silky smooth. It paints a really vivid picture. I also really liked at the end, he's got this like great set of lines. High Valyrian rap looking for my Khaleesi. The ones that Ebro call minor league is real life fire breathers.
Game of Thrones.
I had a feeling somebody else was going to bring that up, so I chose not to quote it.
Man, and you know, he kind of goes on, he says, "Now let me teach you how to train your dragon. First rule, they can't be tamed because they ain't gonna have it. Ain't no magic, just actual facts and logic here. Hip-hop will flourish with nourishment and proper care." Yo, man, High Valyrian rap, looking for my Khaleesi, that is such a thoughtful statement because he's making this pop culture reference to Game of Thrones.
But he also does it again with How to Train Your Dragon, right? Because he's taking the Game of Thrones reference, and then there's also the super popular like other
Disney movie,
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon, which was like a smash
and
hit
this
and
TV
shit.
series too.
So it's like a double joyful pop culture play. So it's basically like you got the R-rated version and the family-friendly version in the same line.
Yeah, for sure. And just to put into perspective a little bit too how thoughtful that line was, the High Valyrian, for anyone who's not familiar with Game of Thrones, Valyria is this kind of ancient fallen kingdom of old, of which there is, you know, a language that still exists, High Valyrian, and kind of like Latin of today. And so High Valyrian rap is kind of referring to this hip hop of a forgotten era.
Jeez.
And he's looking for his Khaleesi, you know, this strong, powerful.
Well, the Khaleesi is of the horse people, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but more than that, I can't remember exactly what the
It's
lineage
like
is,
it's
but
like the queen thing of the people. Then she becomes the Khaleesi at that moment, right?
yeah, but more than that, she's also, because it's referring to Daenerys Targaryen, who is
Right.
family I think may have originated from
Yeah, but-
Valyria, like the
so
last of the
they
Valyrians.
They came from Valeria, but I'm pretty sure the Khaleesi line represents like kind of like a queen or a bride. Also, like
Right.
he's looking for it. Because that's what I got from that. I mean, I read the books, I didn't watch the series, and I haven't read the books in years, so bear with it.
I don't know.
It's
You
just
should rectify that, Christopher.
I should.
it's just a funny thing because sometimes there's this danger I find in rap where if you decide you want to go with the approach of citing pop culture references, 2 decades later, the things you say may no longer make sense to people who listen to your album.
On the other hand, just to go on, if it was just about the TV show, I'd agree with you. But often going from a literature perspective, you're safe because books tend to never fade.
It's true. I think it also depends on which material in particular, because Game of Thrones is probably a pretty safe cultural guess that it's going to be around. In
I guess
20
it's,
years.
it's like making a
But-
Star Trek pun. There's always, or like a Bukowski pun.
But the point that I'm getting at there is more along the lines of he takes these pop culture references, but he does it in such a creative, artistic way that it's perfect. It's the perfect way to cite pop culture references, and there's such a depth to that metaphor. It's like, wow, really really good job.
I agree.
I would give this song a 4. I really like this as an intro, and he's kind of reminding us who he is and what real hip hop is. His flow is not necessarily on with the beat a lot of the time, but that's kind of his style, and it works for him.
It's so good.
He pulls it off very well, and he's got this rich vocabulary that pulls you in. Upbeat production. It's a 4 for me. Yeah.
And what'd you give it?
I gave it a 4 on 5. I think that the song itself as an intro is really cool. I think there's a lot of underlining messages that are still going to be found after when I listen to it again. The only thing, though, is that the beat was produced well and I enjoyed it, but I don't feel like the tone, it gave me this very slow, this like slow, I want to say eerie tone, but I felt like it wasn't properly suited with what he was trying to present. But I do like the beat, so 4 on 5.
All right. So the next track is Traveling Light.
Final Canary Islands, a rhyme inspired by environments that are very violent. I'm the voice of a generation.
So as Mr. Kweli tells us, this title is in fact a double entendre. So he's traveling light,
Yeah.
in the sense that he doesn't bring a lot with him because he's always on the road and he's got a home and shit.
Yep.
But on the other hand, he's traveling light, like into the stars and shit, because he's thinking.
In the fast lane.
No, it's sick. It's kind of like, again, he's going after people who are biting his style, copying his flow, but don't like live the life he lives, so doesn't have the same insight. When we get the sense that he's a very well-traveled, all over the world, globalized type of man, and he I don't know, I love this line. City of broken promises, my mission is reconnaissance. It's dangerous for anybody following. That's why I take biting as a compliment. It's proof of my dominance. It's the haters' way of congratulating me for my accomplishments. So he recognizes that he's done all these things, and people are just, he's like a pioneer, and people are coming at him. But he goes on about Stop assuming I live in your time zone. Jet lag is my reality. The road is my home. I roam. Your downfall is you should probably get out more. I've been planning out tours with a band of outlaws. And then if I think just a little local to Quebec and our ridiculous province, so often people don't travel here. And I assume that even in the hip-hop community, you're going to have a lot of people who don't travel. They don't leave their comfort zones. And when I say travel, I mean even beyond like popular Europe, let's say non-touristy, like actually traveling, you know?
Okay, because I was confused. Like we do get, like here in Montreal, we do get a lot of tourists.
I'm saying us leaving and going somewhere else. And I think what he's trying to like convey with this song is as he goes around the world, his perspective changes, he learns more, and he's almost encouraging people to get out there. Go see the world, get a real perspective for what's going on, and stop trying to live your isolated little lives and whatnot.
And I think it's very universal in terms of a message because you're right. Not even just here, just people in general, I find get very comfortable where they work, where they stay, where they are. And instead of going out to learn, like we keep saying, or like we said, different perspectives, different views in different ways, it's like we stay confined by what we think is, I want to say, right, or our beliefs.
And you get like the sense that even though Brooklyn's changing, he knows who he is inside, and home is just wherever he is. I don't know, man. The beat is excellent. I love the fact that every verse comes with its own unique flow. Like he's like going out of his way to show you that he's not just this one-trick pony. He's got multiple styles, multiple abilities. He hits everything. This is a 5-on-5. Anderson .Paak. I'm not too familiar with him yet, but I know he's on the album we're doing tomorrow, so I know I'm going to get more of him.
He's great.
And killed it. It was 5-on-5. Like, this is, like, as far as I'm concerned, this is, like, one of the most delightful tracks I've heard in ages.
Wow.
Nice.
What do you think, Chris?
I like the meaning. I felt like this song was talking about living in the fast lane. I got hints of, like, you know, he's balling out, he's having fun, he's doing this. I think I may have missed up a little bit on how people are trying to copy him and stuff like that, but I generally tend to think that these songs also do imply those meanings as well. On the other hand, I like the Flash reference of the TV show, how he references being able to travel back and forth really quickly, like the Flash. He drops the two names. That was pretty cool for me just because I've seen the show.
Talib is a bit geeky. That's cool.
As well, I do like the reference of traveling light, not having a lot of stuff. And I think it's not because he chooses to. I think it's because he understands that he has to be on the move very quickly. And not a lot of people get that. A lot of people, when they're on the move, they gotta grab what they think is important. It ends up being like 7 fucking luggage bags. He's kind of saying, like, if you're going to live this life, you need to be able to move quick and you need to bring your main essentials. So I was like, okay, there's different meanings in this, which again, I need to re-listen to. And
very insightful, sir. I'm not being sarcastic in case YouTube thinks I'm hating Chris. Hashtag Holden doesn't hate Chris. Hashtag Chris kills hashtags. Your turn. Did you give a grade?
Hashtag, I love how he goes, I don't hate Chris, but hashtag Chris kills hashtags.
That's from the other show for those who watch all of our videos, like Lindell.
Thank you. But I did give it a 4.5 on 5.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I thought the production was quite cool on this. You know, it's got this kind of progressive piano melody. It oddly sounds like there are almost these two drums that are not two different sets of drums that are kind of not being played fully in sync. And it's interesting because it almost has the effect as in the previous song where Kweli's voice is like doing that very same thing where the pattern of percussion of his voice is like not fully in sync with the beat. And it's this weird thing where at first it sounds really weird, but I kind of got used to it and ended up really liking it. It's got a dope vibe to it. And I also really loved Anderson .Paak on the hook. You know, there was this one line in particular that caught me where he's talking, we entertainers, they want to call us leaders now. That is such an interesting thought. And that is the one line that this song like really just that hit me, and then all I could do is think about that for a few minutes. This world that we now live in where artists are in fact leaders. They kind of direct people how to think in a really big way, in a way that
look, dress, act like.
And I mean, they've always been that way, but I think now with social media, they speak directly to their audience in a way that was never possible before.
Well, just to add on that, right now hip hop is the biggest thing. Like, I get that there's still the rock genre, the country, the techno, and all that stuff.
He's not incorrect. We're
But
saying empirically and metrically speaking,
Hip-hop
hip-hop is currently
is
the
the
number
biggest
one
thing.
genre of music in North America.
And on top of that, in influence, yes, it is the most heaviest thing. It dictates what we wear. It dictates how we speak. It dictates how we fucking act. And showing us that life, and it's funny because we want to see that.
Yeah.
We basically promote how we want to act, justifying it by what we want to see from the music we listen to.
I think the idea that that's what we want to see is a bit weird. I think it's more that's what we've been programmed to want. It's a little more like there's a bunch of psychologists and marketing genius behind the scenes that are basically using XYZ messages to
I'm going to question that simply because, like we've said before, and we say it all the time, if we want to continue listening to this stuff, they're going to keep giving us this.
Well,
if we choose to want to listen to something different, maybe the artists who are making money want to be different.
To counter that, if you look at it at a very macro industry level, the government clearly wants us distracted on Call of Duty, drugs, and everything else, right?
Right.
So they don't want us to be informed and saving money and being intelligent with it. So in general, the pop message is indulgence, hedonism, spend now, don't worry about it. And that ranges from hip-hop to Katy Perry to pick anything that's pop produced tends to have that central, in-the-moment message of distraction, right?
Fair.
And I'm just going to say that as much as we want it, I feel like there's an intentional effort to make sure that we want it in the way that drug addicts are fueled into wanting their addiction.
I am inclined to semi-agree with that statement in the sense that it is beneficial for government to have people distracted and unfocused. I don't think that there's like a plot where they're like secretly maneuvering how all of this stuff is going to happen, but
I do think
but
it's
I
the
agree
most
with the general
profitable way to approach it all. And that's what, let's change it from like a secret plot. That was what I was trying to imply. But I do think there's a clear plot to make as much money as possible off the situation, and that's the best way to do it.
They benefit from our ignorance, which is probably part of the reason why education's become such a shit show.
Because education in some parts of the USA literally teach fact and opinion is the same thing. So like the way things are at, there's a clear effort to keep us confused is all I'm trying to say. They're not trying to teach us to think critically the way I was at least brought up in the educations. And I'm saying that from a music perspective where back in the day, even hip-hop seemed to think more critically. But then you still got these guys coming out. So it's a matter of exposure, right? The radios aren't playing this.
But again, my other...
He's not paying the $3.5 million to make sure the radio's paying it.
I guess my confusion remains that a lot of these new artists coming up started on SoundCloud. They're not even discovered by labels yet. As far as I'm concerned, we're going and finding them. We're giving them views. We're giving them listens. We're choosing to listen to this. That boosts them up until they get. That boosts them up until they get into there. How do we could change that boost up?
But you're not like. You're missing the part where the pieces were put into place by other people, like the endorsements, the opportunities for tours, the fact that somebody said, "Oh, that guy got views," and then everyone else copied that sound, and all of these other things to play an algorithm to ensure that they like. At the end of the day, it's a giant math equation that was played out by a lot of people. From the promoters who book these acts, from the producers who make these sounds, from the general.
But you're telling me that's in. Before they hit the label. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's still like, even if you're not signed, that doesn't mean you're not getting hookups, right?
Right.
So, I mean, however you want to spin it, like, the SoundCloud rapper had more than just being a fucking SoundCloud rapper. He had to have either business. There are examples of it, but most people, I bet, just kind of ended up getting hookups along the way. So yes, I understand that guys like Russ fucking independent grinded that shit, but go listen to what Russ has to say about all the other SoundCloud rappers, and then you'll be like, okay, apparently there was a lot more hookups than you would imagine. Now, I'm not saying that. This is just my little brief exploration into it, but it looks like it's an industry engineered thing. Somebody saw SoundCloud rappers were popping. Boom, everybody jump on that. Next thing you know, you got all these and it's not just like this mumble rappers. I mean, you got to consider guys like Riff Raff and all those dudes from back in the day. It's the same kind of thing. These 2-minute little verses. They were YouTube rappers prior to SoundCloud. Like, it's the same thing. But you don't think labels aren't behind this in some way or another? I'm just saying, these people are there. They made Vivo to control YouTube.
I don't disagree. The more you explain it, the more I can put the pieces together, and I do agree like that.
That's why I'm saying that the distraction and the shit content is socially engineered, because that's what's going to pay. So everybody wants to get money, and that ends up making the content like that. But then you got guys who are like Talib Kweli, who are not about that life and are about the purity, and I respect the shit out of it, is all I'm trying to say.
But just to bring it back to that quote.
Anyway,
sorry,
yeah.
So we entertainers, they want to call us leaders now. It's so profound, and it's also so very, it's true, and it's a simple statement, and yet there's so much that leads me to think about, and I'm curious what the particular connotation that he intended for it, because it could both be, hip hop is now meant to be this almost like teaching force, or rappers are they're like mentors to people within society. Music is teaching people how to be. It's socializing us in different ways. But maybe he means that as a good thing, but he could also mean that as a bad thing. He's saying we're entertainers, but they want to call us leaders now, right? It's like we are this thing. We are here to entertain, and yet people now want to draw even more from us than what our purpose actually is. So I was thinking about that, and I just thought that was a really interesting statement.
It totally is. And then we went off on that tangent. And I'm sorry, this might be one of our longest specific song segments we've ever done. It looks like we're over 13 minutes in this one specific song at this point. Did you give a grade, Ryan?
Yeah, so I gave this one a 4.25. I really like that he kept on a concept. And I like this song.
All right, let's talk about All of Us.
Brothers, all of us.
Okay, so I was watching Joe Budden talking about how he doesn't think Jay Electronica is necessarily as he isn't the godlike status that everyone seems to look him at as. And so in my entire history, I've now listened to like one Jay Electronica verse, and it came out, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And I was very underwhelmed by Jay Electronica's verse, considering how everyone hypes this dude up. I just wanted to throw that out there. On the other hand, Talib Kweli was hype. I love how this track starts with like the chanting and everything else and whatever. And then that chorus just, send this one out to the mothers, they neglected, to the fathers, they rejected, to the sisters, disrespected, to the brothers, unprotected, etc. Fucking great. And then it's like, it's super political. It's almost like observing society. It's like, and then I love this line. Like, if our struggle is a strain, then the strain is dominant. My name is prominent for entertainment that's laced with consciousness. And then I like this because I learned something new. But really, it's just common sense, like Lonnie Lynn. And you know who Lonnie Lynn is? Common. Boom. Fucking, I had fun with that.
That was a good one.
Our knowledge of ourselves, they did a job on us, considering the prediction of economists. Machines will do our jobs for us. The future of the working class is ominous. I've been saying that for fucking years.
Yo, man, it is one of the tightest verses he has in this whole album. It's so consistently good from line to line. It's hard to fault anything that he says.
And then, honestly, Bingham is great on the chorus and everything. I love it. But then, Jay Electronica, I feel like it's the same feel-ish, but just less good and not that. It wasn't as I didn't get that same, you're right. Talib Kweli, it's line for line, excellent. So many compacted ideas of truth and knowledge. And then, all I took from Jay Electronica's verse that it really, really, struck out to me was They're screaming black on black as an excuse for you not to care until the cops roll up in their SWAT gear. But it was just that line. It's like the last one in his verse. And it's even the way he raps it sounds almost like he doesn't like the beat or something. Like there's something a little off-putting about his verse. It's still good content-wise, and I love this song for what it is. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I just kind of wish that Jay Electronica was better.
I think the problem you're having with Jay Electronica is the same one I had. He does sound like he doesn't want to be there. He does sound like he doesn't like something on the song, but I think it's because he's trying to convey this like broken type voice to it. Like they're talking about trying to protect one another and sticking together as a group. There are things happening in the world and we need to band together. And he's trying to convey this like helpless voice, but it really just sounds boring. Like there's no, the emotion and passion in wanting to sound like that doesn't feel like it's there. It feels like he doesn't want to be there, and that kind of threw me off. Other than that, Talib Kweli did really great in capturing his word play and his syllable play on this track. I think that this is one of the tightest, like Ryan was saying a little earlier, this is one of the tightest verses that, jeez, I don't know what he had to feel to be able to write this, but it was great.
Passion.
He had
passion.
I guess that's the thing that Jay missed, but I gave this a 4.5 on 5.
There was more than that. I mean, for me, Jay Electronica didn't necessarily turn me off so much as he did just like fade into the background, because Talib Kweli here is consistently spinning poetry, and it's thought-provoking and poignant. And so once you get to Jay Electronica, his stuff just isn't like, it's fine, but it's not as interesting. He talks a lot about religion but he doesn't say anything that stands out in a way that I'm like, wow, you know? Like, I tarried through the turbulent month of Ramadan, sweating all through the night just like the Holy Prophet, then reappeared on the stage in BK with Yuma, shoulder to shoulder with J. Cole and Kweli. It's like you know, he's telling a story and stuff, but it doesn't feel like there's a really defined purpose for it. Whereas with Kweli, every single line has a distinct purpose and is also carrying you through this overall purpose. He does such a good job writing it.
All that to say, Joe Budden, I kind of get where you're coming from on this one.
But yeah, I also I didn't notice you guys touch on this, and I to me, like, this song seemed to be discussing in a lot of ways systematic issues of race that continue to pervade society, and poverty in general. But there was this sense, you know, where he's talking about kind of like when he's saying, you know, you don't need binoculars to see the light coming through the dome like it's innocuous, the common myth that we're savages with no history or accomplishments. That's like fucking heavy stuff right there.
Yeah.
And, you know, that line about machines will do our job for us is a very true problem that is coming up.
And yeah, I feel like people are just unaware of how fast it's going to come. Frequently, I mean, I've been paranoid about this for a couple of years because I have my timeline in my head on where technology's at. And it's because I've been watching where some of this already existing enterprise service AI technology's at. And it's not just like blue collar factory work that's fucked. We're talking call center workers. We're talking project managers. We're talking people who are making $75,000 a year in a white collar office position are still going to lose their jobs.
Upper middle class and down for sure.
It's going to be whack. It's going to be like, if you're not a CEO or nepotistically connected, good luck, is how I feel the 2020s are really going to play out for a while until we balance out again.
Yeah, there's going to be a very tricky transition where government is going to be required, and
anyway,
that's a talk for another day.
But Talib did bring it up first, so he brought it up. Anyway, what did you give it?
1 sec. I just the other lines I really liked. The blue wall of silence, it's really the blue wall of violence. The good cops who retire and get fired. They scream in black on black as an excuse for you not to care. To till the cops
Yeah.
roll up in their SWAT gear. So it's like, this reference to claims that are often made about how black on black violence is higher than white on black violence, and therefore white on black violence isn't a big deal or doesn't exist or isn't a problem. And he's addressing it in, I think, a really elegant, just well-spoken way where he's,
Yeah, I enjoyed that J Electronica line.
Was that J Electronica?
That was it, yeah. That was J Electronica's.
Was it? I don't think so, man. I think that was Kweli.
Was it?
I think so, yeah. No, like all the good lines that I picked out.
I'm pretty sure, because that was like the Kweli, that was like the one J Electronica thing I picked. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I could be wrong. I don't have the lyrics.
I think he also does reference police stuff, so it
or
could
maybe
just
they say something similar. Anyway.
But yeah. Anyway, I also gave this a 4.5 on 5.
All right, cool. Let's go to She's My Hero.
Pray for the day she could be far away. Father's Day, an awkward occasion with daddy fall from grace. Embrace the out.
This song's pretty intense. Girl's got abusive father, all fucked up circumstance. I mean, he goes into detail about kind of the reality she's in, and then she kills her father, and it fucks her up, and everyone kind of likes her for it, even though she's gonna go to jail. And that's the song in a nutshell.
Well,
and it's a really fucking emotionally thought-provoking and powerful experience. Like,
it touches upon a lot of really.
what?
It touches upon a lot of really serious issues.
Well, it touches upon the issue of an abusive father in his home that gets smashed, like alcoholized, he gets drunk, beats the wife, like kind of goes through it all, and then she gets kind of like snaps and gets, he has a gun, he's always pulling the gun around, and then
What I'm trying to bring it to is like there's a lot of times where, like rapists, pedophiles, sexual abusers, and all that stuff, they get like killed or attacked or something, and then the victim or the person who, like the hero, you want to call them, gets in trouble for it, and it's like a lot of people don't know how to feel about it. And I feel like this is part of the message that he's trying to say is like, how do you idolize somebody who took another one's life, but it's like taking someone else's life.
I think it's more justifying why, like, it's not judging people. Like, it's more like, here's the story of this girl, and she ended up taking her father's life, and we're not saying it's right, but everyone's kind of happy he's gone.
Right, he's gone because of what he did and who he was.
Well, because she killed him, and because of what he did, yes. And like, I'm not really feeling that he's questioning people making this person a hero. They're just saying they're happy he did it, or that they're happy that this person is dead is more what he's saying.
Well, but I mean, the song is called "She's My Hero."
Yeah, I guess you're right. I missed that part.
It just seems to me that from a lot of like the news I've been hearing and a lot of stories that I've been reading on the internet, it's just there's always this person who's really horrible, and then somebody does something to that horrible person, and it's like there was always this kind of question, like, I just kind of saved the world in a sense. Like, I'm not trying to make it a big thing, but like, if you take out
if
again,
you look at how the song is broken down, it's like we tried to play the legal system and it failed. In fact, the legal system punished us and protected him, and like we did everything we could, and it's no longer a safe environment. And then she snapped and was like, what do I do? Do I kill myself? Do I run away? How do I handle this situation? But then I can't abandon my siblings and my mother, because that would be ridiculous and selfish. And then she kills them, and then they're facing a court case and everything. And in light of all of that, everybody just kind of has this sense of relief, even though it's almost like she became the martyr to protect and save her family from the turmoil of her father. And for that, yeah, that's pretty heroic to know that by doing this, you're basically giving up your life and your future to protect your family.
But
Yeah,
I guess
that's pretty
also,
cool, man.
There's also like other things they can touch upon, like, I mean, to an extent, there are like warriors or like even soldiers who go and risk their lives to protect people, you know?
I think that is totally not what this song is about.
I know. I'm just extending
Let's focus on the song, Chris. Like, there's a whole lot in this song without jumping on.
For
literally, PTSD is it's more than just the soldiers. But yeah, I like the lines like they say karma's a bitch, and when you take a life, you pay the price. But if your way of life ain't been threatened and you safe at night, how you out here judging and thinking you're giving people great advice when those who should protect you disrespect you can't take it light.
Yeah, it's really
And like
tight.
that's kind of like more what this is approaching. It's like, how are you, Christopher, judging this girl in any negative way when you ain't ever been in that context, in that situation, right? That's what he's trying to convey, I feel. Or why bother when the system supporting the father, gradually your thoughts got darker? Do you kill yourself or kill the monster that making you suicidal? Decisions too heavy for the mind of a child. And I'm just like, fuck. The family freaked out, but deep down they felt relief. Wipe the tears from your cheek. Mama, you free now. You're just like, I don't know, man. It's almost like this has happened to somebody he knows, or like he felt like the sense of really.
It feels personal. Do you guys know if it is, or because I couldn't find any information about it?
I didn't have a lot of time to do the background research on this.
Yeah.
I was really just, look, this guy's deep, man. It's like I was so caught up in the rhyming and the way he's putting it together, the way he can capture the emotions, and almost like this is what 3 minutes. Maybe, and it does so much. It's a 5 on 5 for me. The beat's amazing. He fits it all properly, and I swear I teared up a little bit the first time I heard this track.
I like the last verse where he touches upon like violence in our communities, on our games. We're playing games that are violent. We listen to music that are violent, and how it's very prevalent.
That's true.
And it's really, it's cool that he did it at the end, and I think this is cool because it starts off with that serious story about what happens, and then you're left off with questions. For me, I was left off with questions after the story, and then he basically answers it with, well, if all we're playing is video games that kill each other, if all we see on the TV and hear and stuff is always violence, for me, I was like, well, when it comes down to situations like this, you're kind of like, yeah, I can kill somebody and get away with it, because we're kind of, what's that, desensitized by what we see and hear all over the place a little bit. I'm probably jumping to an extreme, but that's how I felt.
I mean, I
was
definitely feel that he's trying to convey a very similar message, that you can't be that surprised that every now and again this is going to happen, especially in this culture we've created. A bit, but
yeah, it's a really good track. There's this like jazzy bass and percussion. There's nothing really special to me about the production on this track, except for the fact that it carries the tone of the lyrics very well. But fuck those lyrics, right? Like in a good way. Like holy shit. There's like two particular parts that jumped out for different reasons. There's this one line where he says, "It left his daughter with post-traumatic stress disorder. She, the phoenix out the flames, metamorphosis." Just the imagery of that is kind of beautiful, I found. And also, the justice system is profit. They shuffle us to prison, but shit is just as toxic for women to get a judge to listen. He's got like these little bits of wisdom that he kind of speckles throughout the song while he's carrying a totally different concept. And it's one of my favorite things about him. It makes him stand out a lot. He's a really conceptually driven artist, but despite that, he also has even more depth to just the concept, and that's one of my favorite things. I gave this a 4.7, and I really liked it.
All right, who wants some chips?
Cause I'm man enough, and then turn around like wet dreams. You can wet it up, you can step it up, you ain't kept.
First of all, Waka, Flocka, Waka. I like Waka. I did not like Waka for a long, long time. And then Waka just keeps getting better. He keeps learning to rap better.
Well, to be honest, Waka did kind of get off the rap scene and went to the EDM, which I think is what made him.
He got better as a rapper.
Yeah, because then he came back.
No, I mean, he over time just improved.
Fine, whatever.
I mean, while he was in the EDM thing, he was still releasing trap albums.
Yes, I understand, but I think that going to the EDM also gave him like
albums
a different,
a year. Yeah, he's open-minded, and Pornhub fucked with him in a minute. Anyway, but
Wait, what?
Yeah, he has a video sponsored by Pornhub.
What?
It's a good song. I can't remember. Bust, I think it's called.
I'm guessing it's like super sexually explicit and stuff.
Not too bad.
No, just like
but it alludes to a lot more.
Shirts.
And it has a bunch of porn stars in it, and it alludes to a bunch of stuff. But it's a really like fun song. And honestly, you got to understand it. Waka raps in a way that's really meant to just have a good time. He's about the party, the good vibe energy. His live show is sick. And you just got to take into context that is a very base element of hip hop to really. Waka is that kind of true MC, like really a showman. And he has this energy about the way he rhymes that I find he conveys it here. Now, this beat is obviously from Camp Waka in terms of more of a trap style banger. That chorus, Talib takes this modern sound and does that like call chant kind of chorus thing. But what he does is he says real shit in it. That doesn't make it annoy me. So it's like he can come in and do what the other guys are doing and make it sound blessed. Fucking comes in and raps that verse where he just sounds absolutely fantastic to me. I wrote lyrics down. They don't believe I'm touring overseas. Nah, he don't even rap about coca leaves. Think globally, not locally. You ain't woke as me. Go to sleep. And he's just, it's again what I love about him. You can see how he's just like, he's taking all the, like everyone in hip hop seems to be in his box and they all think the same way. And he's just like, fuck that. I'm going out there. I'm trying to, fuck the U.S. market. I want that market and that market.
But that was Talib Kweli.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were going to say that.
No, sorry, you're right. This is Talib Kweli. Not Waka. Talib Kweli was doing this. And what I feel is Talib Kweli is showing, look, I can do what y'all do on your beat while showing you that I think better than how you guys think about this shit. So he was kind of, that's how I felt was his approach. And he swagged on that beat. And there was swag in the way he did this shit. And he just owned it. And what he had to say was proper.
It was straight up a 2017 banger. Like,
and then
play this as a solo track, I wouldn't know a difference.
And then, well, yeah, I would have, because Kweli sounds great.
Yes,
but then,
in terms of
then
that.
Flocka comes in, and be real. Maybe he doesn't have the dense poetic ability of somebody like Talib Kweli, but that's not to his, like, discouragement, right?
Allow me to quote, my shita event, you shita show. I could still get a brick for the low. I could still put dick in your hoe.
But
I just love that
you gotta like understand that what he's saying here with that line, because the lines before that are still pretty important, right? Because Flocka is saying, because that's kind of a callback to the way Flocka used to be, back before he could rap, and he used to be proud of the fact that he couldn't rap and shit, and he would say a bunch of stuff. The two lines prior to that, if I'm not mistaken, are like, "This is a sick trap song, and I've actually learned how to rap, motherfuckers." And then he goes, "But I'm still real," with what he's saying there. So is it the most prolific poetry? No. But is it suck? No, not to me at all. And I like this part. I don't give a fuck if you friendly or foe. I need the ring. Give me the ring. I don't diss rappers. Get in the ring. Sit in the clink before I even sing. And I love the fact that he's not calling anyone out, but he is being competitive with it. He is doing the hip-hop thing in his own way with his own style. And I can't hate Flocka for being real. That's him for like a decade. That's Flocka, and it's talented Flocka. So why am I gonna hate on that? It's fun. This track is joyful. If it came on at a club, it would be great. Way better than a lot of other music I've heard that would be played in a club. This to me is exactly what I wanted of a party banger. 5 on 5.
Yeah.
Chris, did you already do yours?
I didn't really give much to it. It's a straight 5 on 5. I like Talib Kweli's diversity in becoming from going really lyrically proficient with the way he structures his verses to being able to go lyrically proficient but a trap artist. And that was just super cool how he became that type. And I was like, that's sweet. Who doesn't like Waka? That's that. But all in all, I enjoyed the beat. I enjoyed the vibe to it. I enjoyed that it was a crazy ass banger. 5 on 5.
For me, I don't necessarily have anything against Waka Flocka. I've not listened to very much of his music. This is actually probably one of the first songs that I've listened to with him on it. He just didn't make a great impression, and it's not necessarily because he's no good. It's more that my stylistic taste just doesn't align. I listen to hip hop. You know, I'm not really looking for party bangers. I'm not really looking for this will come up later, love songs. Like hip hop to me, I look to for inspiration, for philosophy, for creative ideas. It's you know, for me it's very much about things that I can learn, and a song like this just doesn't provide it. Although I have to say that Talib Kweli did quite a good job and had some pretty good lines. But, you know, for me, this was one of the weaker songs on the album, just as far as personal taste goes. And I gave it a 3.5.
All right, let's go to Nocturnal.
Trying to make it rain, looking for more cash. Little man, they got no parents. Who you?
Alright, this song's about how in the nighttime stuff happens, and then it goes into like kind of some environmental, I guess more of a in the hood feeling. Like this line really struck with me. He's describing how like these little kids are like seeing their role models, I guess these drug dealers and shit. And little man ain't got no parents, who you gonna follow? When your role models send you to the store for a cold bottle, and you come back and see him in cuffs, will be enough to hate police and define manhood as being tough.
I also wrote that down.
Because it's like, yo, like, I mean, let's be real. When I was 16, everybody I saw was in college, and like going to school was the cool thing. But just imagine being like 10, and yo, you see that guy making money. We've established in a lot of hip hop that growing up, those were the guys who had money. But that means that those are the same guys who are getting arrested. So you have no dad. This guy gives you some money to go get you a beer or whatever at the store. You come back and you're getting arrested. The cops is taking away the only person who looks out for you. Shit. Like, holy fuck, Talib Kweli. Honestly, we're halfway through, and I'm still fucking enthralled. Like, this is... Yep. When I saw 11 tracks, I was like, yeah, short review for once. Fuck. Nope. It was dense. And then... I love this one, too. When you ain't got a pot to piss in, everybody on the block is your competition. Police are on your pocket. You're forced to forfeit. When your espionage is corporate, that means you got an office. And
what?
It's dope.
I know. Can you break that down and explain that?
Well, when you're poor and everybody on your block is your competition. And anyway, police is all in your pocket. Basically, it's kind of like you have to create an industry out of crime.
Okay.
Is what I took from that, but the way he layered it, I could be a little off. Some of it was like, damn, I just love the way he worded that, and I haven't fully figured it out yet. Because in a line, I got the gist of the track, while at a line-by-line level, it's sometimes hard to unpackage it. Like, I mean, I heard the whole album about 3 times now, and I maybe could have listened to it more because it's been out for a couple of weeks, but it doesn't mean I have enough time to like really give you the full analysis of line by line, which is unfortunate because this album is one we're 6 tracks in. Maybe on the features it's not the same density, but Talib has not failed to consistently bring a diverse array of subject matters across the songs, which for me is the mark of a brilliant album, while maintaining consistently different while still stylistically similar flows. Yeah. And amazing lyrics. The beats have been interestingly diverse. I might not have liked them all as much as other ones. This one, as an example, the beat and general feel of the song, the sounds wasn't as appealing to me, while otherwise conceptually being equally as amazing. So 4.5 on 5 for this track.
That's quite good.
Nice. I really, really like this track. I gave it also a 4.5 on 5. I like the nocturnal life theme to this song. There is another world once the sun goes down that not a lot of people know of. And the way Talib Kweli explains these scenarios and these experiences throughout this song is really... I'm not going to say I've been through these certain experiences, but I prefer being out at night than I do during in the day. So I can kind of see where he's coming from on certain things that I see. Again, not 100%. I don't come from projects, hoods, ghettos.
We can establish the nighttime as a different time than the daytime.
But yes.
And Chris feels more comfortable in the nighttime in the safe streets of Montreal, Quebec. And it is really safe where we live.
It's safe. It is.
Because we're all in the same neighborhood.
But
mad safe.
Like, again, there is... I have seen people get jumped. I have seen...
stuff happens.
Stuff does happen.
But not in our neighborhood as often as it used to back in the day.
I like that eerie feel to the beat that was there. It gave me this like nightmarish type feel, like he's really locking in that nocturnal feel, that night feel. So, beat production was great. The flow I felt was a little slower, more of that speech type poetry, but still on a proper rhythm. So, 4.5 on 5.
Cool. Yeah, I really like this one. The production wasn't necessarily overwhelmingly good in my mind. I liked it. It's got these jazzy samples. Again, we've got like some saxophone, just these cool military sounding drums. I think actually my favorite production point of the song is there's one point where there is a gunshot that is used as the percussion. So it like replaces the drum for just like one bar as Kweli says something.
Yes.
And it's really has a strong effect. It's really good.
It's because everything goes quiet. I think it's like in the first verse.
It's in the third line or fourth line.
Yeah.
And he says, and the something goes pow.
Because he relates it to being a very frequent sound, and then the whole beat cuts, and you just hear the two gunshots.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's the same sample Action Bronson used on his album Blue Chips 3000 with the track Bonsai, which we reviewed, and you can click up there. We didn't like it as much as this album, so if you don't want to see us, we're not heaping praise, and sometimes y'all don't like it when we do that, so fair warning, but y'all can check it out. But still, it was. I heard it like right away. I'm like, oh yeah, this was what we did. Anyway, how did you? Go on?
Yeah. So this one had like so many interesting thoughts. He's got this line about the vampires sucking the city dry at night, and it had me wondering who the vampires were. Were they cops? Were they other people within the community? And it was...
You know what? I think it's... No, I think it's more just the general sense. It's when all the nefarious people of all walks of life come out there and do the various nefarious things they do to vampire it up.
I'll go with that.
I'll
take that. Which there might be fiends involved.
But there's so many good lines. Like... so fascinated by material gain, it's already ours in imagination. The something of supremacy is masturbation. The master race should make you want to mash your face and run right up in somebody's gates, but where the fuck the safe? There's also the streetlights illuminate how truly dark it is. The block is a college. You got a degree in marketing, a doctorate in swallowing. This pimping paid her scholarships. She popping out her tits because they pay her to be provocative. Like, wow.
It's just real. It's like, it's honest journalism of the streets. It's one of the things I find most appealing in hip-hop. For me, it's not necessarily, I love the philosophy side of hip-hop, but I love the journalism in stuff like this.
Yeah, agreed.
And to me, that is the most appealing part of it. And, it's a great song. I don't know, what'd you give it?
I gave it I think I gave it a 4.5 as well.
So let's go and talk about the title track, Radio Silence.
Which one is the real you? I don't know, it's still you. How could I tell if you under...
My name's in the song, so I thought I would just throw it out there. Not directly, but you could picture me rolling. You could picture me holding. You could never picture me folding. Refuse to be holden to your racist image of a black man. I just want to say, beholden is...
You're fired.
It's the only iteration of the verb. Okay, because holden in the old days used to mean like the past tense of the word to hold, but it got like retired. But beholden is not retired yet. So just saying, language lessons, motherfuckers. This track is possibly my favorite song on the album. That beat is like fucking cracked to my brain on how good it is. It might not be like lyrically and rhyming my favorite one on the album because I mean I don't like the feature as much as him. It's the same thing. Myka 9, he's great. I enjoyed it, but I love Talib Kweli so much fucking more because he comes in and he's like fucking ripping it like 180 miles per hour, sounding clear, sounding on point, sounding dope as fuck, man. And I love how this track kind of addresses like they're born, and like in that first verse, it's almost like his spirituality and the sense of who he is. And then he's got a second verse, if I'm not mistaken. And then in Myka 9 kind of does his version of the born concept. They even say their birthdays, like born this way, woke up like this, the midpoint between science and religion, is trying to find out what the meaning of life is. October 3rd, 75, my birth is a blessing. I'm like, okay. And he just kind of like, okay, and I love it. Because I think November 3rd, 1987 is a pretty fucking important day in my life. And so I feel like more people should feel that way. He has some conspiracy theory stuff like chemtrails and business in there, which I don't know enough about the subject to really comment on. But most of that I hear from guys like What's the one that's building the fucking rocket ship, the flat earther there? B.O.B. It's like, that's what I picture when I hear it.
Wait, B.O.B. is a flat earther?
Wait,
Yeah.
B.O.B.'s building a rocket ship?
Rewind. What?
Yeah, B.O.B.'s been a flat earther for...
Him and Tila Tequila are the spokespersons of fucking flat earthers. But B.O.B. created a GoFundMe or something to build a rocket ship to go into space, to take a picture with his cell phone to prove that NASA's full of shit, and then all the astronauts roasted him. This happened.
I kind of...
Because, you know, there's like the live NASA stream you can watch and watch the world turn.
But can you imagine how humiliating and how dumb you would feel to pay all this money to go into outer space thinking you're proving everyone wrong, only to find out
I want to say one thing.
that you're wrong?
Imagine how much fucking publicity he's about to get.
Nah, that guy's ruined his career, man.
I mean,
I don't know.
any publicity
Maybe.
is good publicity.
I don't agree
so
with
and
that.
a bunch of people
Any
are about
publicity
to
is
rip
good
him.
publicity, but look at the careers of Tila Tequila and B.O.B., and then we'll reconsider that.
Okay.
I also really like the lines, miffed, dismayed, and somewhat befuddled. I believe this is the other guy, the featured guest. I struggled to hustle and come up with the blood, corpsicle boils. I'm pressing issues. It's business mixed with pleasure. It's pleasantness to play and get paid during the Clone War for DNA. Actually, I don't remember which one of those two guys it was, but I love that line too. And all in all, it's more deep shit. We are consistently getting excellent quality deep shit off this album. I love the chorus. I love it's Amber Coffman, and in general, great track. I am left with another 5 on 5 on this album. I'm blown away so far, like fucking blown out the water by how good the quality of music on this record is.
Nice. I also gave this track a 5 on 5. For me, I got this feel of everything, all these conspiracy theories and all these things that he's thinking. It only happens whenever the music gets turned off, whenever the radio goes silent, and I feel this disconnection from his happy place when the music is there. Disregard of what music it is, just the fact that music is in his life. He's on a different level, a different wave. And then the minute the radio goes silent, or he's lost that originality from where he feels, it's like he's trapped with thoughts, theories, problems, and just a bunch of stuff. And I can really relate to that because music is everything to me. And when I don't have my music, I lose my mind. It's a way of escape. It's a way of being able to express yourself in ways that, you know, you don't feel you can without it. And yeah, so 5 on 5.
Yeah, the beat on this track was really interesting, and I had mixed feelings about it, but it's kind of like this electronic synthy sound, but it's different in a way that's hard to pin my finger on. Sort of like a dreamy fantasy video game soundtrack with better percussion. Like it's a very interesting beat. And I really didn't settle yet on whether I really like it or don't really like it, but it's fascinating one way or the other. You know, Kweli's got some good lines in here. There's one of my main quote, Holden kind of like took the middle of. So there's this part before it where he says, "Gotta write when I'm living in graffiti. It's the hood hieroglyphics." Love that as a concept. That's like so well stated.
That's true.
And you know, then the lines about Roland and Holden, be Holden, because he's clearly calling out to, you know,
This guy right here.
Holden. Like he's saying Holden, like, you know.
He's saying what's up.
But then he's saying, you know, refuse to be holden to your racist image of a black man. Kiss my entire colon. Great mind, even though the legacy is stolen. So this line I thought was super interesting. Now I do not know what he intended by it. However, for anyone who's not in the loop, this has been the most publicity I have seen of Talib Kweli in the last few years. He had an online beef with an underground rapper named Diabolic. And it was like a very publicized thing for a while. Basically, something to the effect of, Talib Kweli was saying something about race or a racial issue. Diabolic came in and said, you know, I've just been reading your stuff all day, and I've got to say you generalize too much. And then Talib Kweli's like, hey, if that's so, then, you know, show me the tweets. Send me the tweets right now. Show me which tweets that I've overgeneralized in. And then Diabolic got, he's like, no, that should be your job. And anyway, they had this Twitter feud, which, essentially ended in Talib Kweli calling Diabolic. I don't know if he called him a white supremacist or if it was just sort of implied, but it was basically like, you're this white rapper in hip hop who doesn't have the proper respect for it. And Diabolic, and he called Diabolic a bitch. And then Diabolic being this, like, his whole persona being this super hyper aggressive, violent underground rapper with like the densest rhyme flows you've ever heard. He basically like wrote a diss track, and then Talib Kweli wrote a diss track back. And I think that's what this line is referring to. I think it's a reference to the lack of respect that some rappers have, especially in this highly publicized case. But
I remember that.
You were up there on that too.
I think Diabolic's a battle rapper, if I'm not mistaken.
He's
more in like that circuits, and
he's not a battle rapper exactly. He's kind of his style of rap is within that realm though. I've never seen him do a battle, but he's very. I found out about him before he released his first album, and I followed him for a long time because he had one of the most distinctive flows in the underground community. It was very hard hitting. And a lot of heavy wordplay that's very clever, but it's like it's not a good idea to like get into a fight with Talib Kweli. Like the dude is and has been for a long time a major pillar in the community of hip hop, and not a great idea. Anyway, if you wanted to check it out, I think the diss track was like that Diabolic release was called Inequality. And I don't remember what the other one was called, but you can find it pretty easily.
Referred videos after.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, this track I thought was pretty good. I gave it a 4.2. It didn't like fully blow me away. It's like that beat. I just couldn't settle on that beat.
Fair enough, man. So let's talk about the one I love.
What you said the last time. We know each other so well that we pass line and we pass crime and we.
I get a feeling Ryan has negative feelings about this song based on some comments that were made earlier in the podcast.
Uh-oh.
I happen to love this shit. He's basically in this song. Yeah, BJ, the Chicago kid, who I didn't know is a singer until this moment. He's also on the album we're going to be reviewing tomorrow night. Wonder what that will be. Basically, we have this guy, and he's singing, like, fuck the other girls, you're the only one for me, blah, blah, blah. And you get the sense, okay, maybe he was unfaithful, and to which, yep, he was unfaithful. And Talib kind of, like, writes this honest verse, like, he's writing to his partner, his wife type or whatever, and he's like, look, I done fucked up in the past, and I have a lot of trouble not fucking the randos. But at the end of the day, I really hope that we can get back to a place where we're special again and everything's important, and he like recognizes what he's done is wrong and the struggle he's in, but then also recognizes we've been through this much, we've built this empire, and you get all this stuff that comes with this, like almost like I recognize, like, don't think that these people are on the same lane as you, and like etc. Kind of like I'm probably gonna do it again, not because I want to, but because I probably just will, but you should still stick around. And that's kind of what I got from this song. But
so he's basically like admitting to his wrongs, but then like, I'm not gonna change, but please stay.
But it's not like he's saying I'm not gonna change, but he kind of alludes to the idea that don't think that these other people, even if it happens again, that these people hold a candle to you, you're so much more than them. But like to me in his head, it's like he probably like he's doing his best now, but he might slip again. It was more like an addiction type thing is how I felt. Like he's addicted to the strange and he doesn't want it and he's trying to be pure. Like there was one line I wrote down. So that's why I'm back in line trying to get off your bad side. It might take some time and that's fine, but trust this. And then it goes into the hook where he's like, fuck them other girls, etc. And I like it. I like the honesty in it. I like the fact that he's not making like these grandiose promises. It's not like fucking R. Kelly's Confessions of the Closet bullshit. No, it's like really level-headed, like an honest song. Like, I have fucked up and I'm in the doghouse and I need to get back into your graces and I'm really sorry. And like the realism behind it, I appreciated it. Like he's almost like admitting he's flawed. In light of all of the piousness he's had, to admit he's so flawed on the same album is very wise of him, and I appreciated that. ultimately I give it a 4.5 on 5. I dug the track, but it isn't as good as some of the deeper, denser philosophy. It's a little more on the expressing his feelings to this person. It's almost like maybe he got in trouble recently and used this track as an opportunity to apologize in a very literal sense.
So I'll say that does give me like a bit of a different perspective, and I can appreciate that. For me, part of the problem was I came into this track just disliking the beat so much.
Oh, jeez.
So much. Like, first, it's like this trappy beat. It's got this male choral, like, background singing, the romantic style. And to me, it just sounds so generic. The only thing that I like in the entire track of the beat is the piano melody, which is pretty subtle in background. And I will say that, Talib Kweli's voice sounds great too. But yeah, just the sound of it just rubbed me the wrong way to start. And so maybe I walked into it with like an extra bias. There were some lines that I thought were pretty nice. Like, it's like dealing with women, my favorite pastime. I love finding trails to path. Ain't nothing like it. When you stop calling, that was a bad sign. Remember, you would blow up at the bat line, now flat line. I was scared to fall asleep, so I nap light, one eye open, and my phone and my path slight. Hope.
You know who else wrote a song like that? Nickelback. You can check our review over there. But on their song Home, it was kind of a very similar idea that Chad Kroeger was talking about after cheating on Avril.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he cheated on Avril.
Oh, yeah. And then it's like, he's
Wow.
like, kind of the idea, like, when I get home to it, like, to this empty home, then, whatever. I forgot the words exactly, but same idea. General idea.
Jeez.
All these male celebrities admitting that fucking the groupies is not maybe the best idea.
Well, all I'll say is that, I found when I listened to it that Kweli's flow was great here at times. But I felt like part of the reason why was he had less consistent substance to say. And, it's also just a personal preference. Like, I honestly find love songs almost always come across to me as kind of corny. It's very hard, and there's a reason. It's because it's very hard to make a love song that doesn't sound generic and cookie cutter
Right.
and made for, like, this massive audience. And, like, it doesn't have that distinctive, like, conceptual focus most of the time. And I think Holden would maybe argue that this does have the conceptual focus.
I feel like it's a lot more emotionally expressive, but it has as much conceptual focus as any other song does on this album, where it is a series of unique ideas strung together while conveying this general tone. So yeah, I would say it's as strung together as anything else on this album. I just find that your interest in the subject matter was less...
Yeah, that's
Because
possible.
I am really interested in this subject matter. It's understandable. I have done stupid things in my past, and so I get where he's coming from.
That's fair. Maybe, I didn't give it full enough of a chance, but just that beat set me on that train, and then all I could think about is how generic love songs tend to be.
Which is cool.
And that frustrates me, because I think the cool thing about love is that every relationship is distinct and unique.
I would say that this song is not so generic sounding in terms of its lyrical content.
But that beat,
But
though.
its sound is very generic, but I think that's part of the point. I think a lot of what he's trying to accomplish with this album is to make, in some cases, some generic sounding music, but adding a substance behind it that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
So for that, I think it fits the point of the album, and it's worth having here. I know Chris hasn't said anything in it, and we're not leaving, but it's almost why I can sort of justify the next song, which I didn't like as much as this one.
But yeah, just final thoughts on that for me. I thought that at least Talib Kweli comes across as like a pretty thoughtful guy in his relationships, and that's something I can respect. I gave this song a 3.3. It's just not my type.
Fair.
Nice. This song is very honest. I like how he's very real, and he's breaking down what he did and his experiences and how he fucked up. Very relatable. Anybody can probably find something to relate to in here. The thing I didn't like was the beat.
Really? In a song?
Well, in terms
anybody?
again, I'm looking at it in a very simplistic form. The song's about a guy cheating or somebody cheating on their
Exactly.
partner.
You're saying that the whole world can relate to that.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm saying that's a stretch and a generalization. No, don't go up to the whole comments and be like, "Yo, tell me, you all no, like don't tell us unless you want to
No.
share your experiences." But
I just think that even if you haven't cheated or maybe you've even been cheated on, you can still kind of relate.
what if you've just had a happy relationship and your parents were functional.
And to tell you the truth, I really don't think you might actually listen to this song.
Anyway, that's also a stretch. All I'm saying is don't say these damn weird generalizations. That's just not... You can't even back that up.
I gave it a 4 on 5. I didn't like the beat. It's a love song, and he's apologizing because he fucked up.
You're right. That is apt, and I think that for people who have had in situations, it's relatable. All I was trying to say is,
you got a
7 billion people probably can't relate exactly to the emotional connection of the song. Anyway,
you're right. 7 billion people can't.
Heads up, open eyes.
Blessings that he receives. Let's go.
Sometimes it's hard to believe in what
The feeling that this track is largely exploring the idea of don't judge what you don't know. In different like contexts. I really like the first verse and how it starts. A wise man know what he know and what he doesn't. If he's not really sure what he's saying, he don't discuss it. A righteous man walks the earth without judgment and loves his enemies enough to deliver justice, which I love that last part actually because it's very Christian or religious or whatever, but in the sense of respecting and admiring your enemy. And then it also like makes me think of shit like The Art of War, where it shows his wisdom, being able to understand, because you need to respect your enemy and understand it. Like, he's not a guy who's shitting on mumble rappers and stuff. He's a guy who understands what he doesn't like about the industry, and he's able to pinpoint it specifically. So when I hear dudes calling out mumble rappers, when I heard Ritz make a shitty song called Dork Rap that didn't actually say anything, oh, you guys have an accent that makes you sound white, that's a bad argument. But when you hear something like this dude's arguments across the way, and you're just like, okay. And then he proceeds to drop lines about like people and the different things that could be related or why they may have done stuff. And it shows that he really adheres to this wisdom. Then Rick Ross does an adequate Rick Ross verse. By adequate, I mean he fits the song and doesn't fuck it up. There's no strange bullshit. And strangely enough, there's no Maybach music on this bitch, because when Talib Kweli brings you on, you don't bring your tag, apparently. And it's not bad, but it was so unnoteworthy to me. And so I have no more to comment on him. That third verse, if I'm not mistaken, is basically going on again about the fakeness of other rappers and calling out the liars of the industry and shit. And that verse I liked a little bit less because it did kind of feel like... I like the way he approached it in the first verse, and whatever, it is what it is. And this track, I feel like the album kind of like, it was riding like a super high. And then I gave this 4 here, and I didn't like this song as much. It didn't feel as necessary, and I'm not trying to be like overly critical, but like up until this moment, I found something magical on every track. Here, I just didn't see it quite as much. It's like,
excuse me.
It's like another calling out people for being kind of fake track, but with a little bit extra. Maybe I missed the brilliance of it.
You mentioned something about how Talib Kweli was like talking about not judging. Like, you don't judge somebody if you don't know, right?
What?
Didn't you speak upon how like in the first verse? Because I got confused with this song a little bit, so I'm just trying to.
He said, "Don't say what you don't know."
Right, but
what he's saying is don't speak on things you don't understand, and literally like it's the idea of making a claim that everybody in the world knows what it's like to be cheated on.
But I'm saying, like,
versus,
does Talib Kweli know what the mumble rappers are going through to do what they're doing?
I'm willing to say that, yeah, based on... He's not targeting mumble rappers. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I used it as an example when to criticize other people who target mumble rappers.
Okay.
Talib Kweli is going after fake people who are clearly materialistic and into certain things that aren't really about the purity of... Like, he's a guy who puts God first, who, like, values knowledge and wisdom and all of that other shit. So he wants your music to be a reflection of purity and like, being dope. He doesn't want your fake shit. He doesn't want, like, these liars in the industry. So all he's saying is, you liars are kind of bad. He's not... It doesn't matter what they're going through. If you're full of shit, you're full of shit, is kind of what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have more to add there.
I mean, just that I thought that the beat was really great on this track. The jazzy percussion, piano, bass are nice, and I thought it was really smooth. That being said, this track also I felt similarly to Holden. You know, I could kind of do without the Rick Ross verse.
It wasn't bad.
It's not terrible. Like, it's not bad. It's
just
it's Rick Ross.
I mean, Waka Flocka Flame did a way better fan swap track here than Rick Ross did. And I feel like both these tracks are validation stamps to try to connect to a different fan base and audience. But I
mean, this is the funny thing, right? Is that I also felt it was sort of like the Waka Flocka audiences overlapping. I can see the benefit of that marketing wise. But it's so strange for me to like listen to this one distinctly thoughtful rapper next to another one who is just not able to keep up in the same way in that regard. But you know, I really like the first verse from Kweli about the different types of men that Holden quoted. I thought that was like just really well stated. I gave it a 4 as well.
yeah.
I give it a 4 on 5.
Okay, let's let it roll. Let it roll, yeah.
Call a group with Garvey, probably would. Girl, I like to stay here. I was home.
This is actually my least favorite track on the album.
Oh yeah.
I don't like the beat. I don't really like the flow of the song. I had a lot of trouble getting into it. I really dug the line, trying to find a needle in a haystack easier than trying to find a leader in the mainstream media. That was dope. And then Little Stevie Finish read the harmonica, Archie and Jughead, Betty and Veronica, because I liked Archie in comics. I don't know if maybe I just phased on this one. Sometimes you just slip when you just don't get the song. But I couldn't get into it. I just didn't care about it that much. I know that makes me a lazy reviewer, but I feel like it seemed more materialistic, like it was about the quest for money, like this kind of like abstract story, like maybe it's a conflict within himself. I just didn't dig it. I didn't feel like it brought the same prowess he'd brought like the rest of this album, and it was a bit of a dip. But then again, maybe if I re-listen to it a couple more times, I'll find the hidden wisdom and the hidden thingies inside of it. And so that's probably the case for me here. I got nothing more on this one. I gave it a 3.5 because I really didn't enjoy it.
I got this like vibe and this feel of what he's going through is difficult, but sometimes you gotta know when to just let it go or let it roll and just kind of go with what's happening with the experiences. And once you get a stable part or a stable opportunity to make a full-on decision, you can do that. But sometimes you kind of just have to ride that wave before you can get somewhere.
I actually like vibed with that beat. I'm not gonna lie. It's the beat to me was groovy and it was like weird, you know, but in a good way. I dig it. It's kind of like electronic wavy sound in the background during the hook. There's this bending synthy strings during the verse, and there's this trappy percussion. As far as the lyrics, I started to kind of like tune out here, and I didn't feel like there was as much depth, but I did have some fun moments. I laughed at the Archie reference because in my head I'm imagining Talib Kweli, philosopher, rap artist, and appreciator of Riverdale, the Netflix series that I watch all the time because it's so bad it's hilarious. So like I just can't help but like think of him watching this like this. I hope he does. I really hope he does.
It's
but,
bad. It is bad.
But like, you know, who am I? I can't criticize. I just feel like it's like I hope we're in the same club together. But the beat was really cool. Yeah. Aside from that, I don't have a lot to say. I gave this a 4.
And you?
I gave it a 4.
All right, we've given this exceptionally other songs a lot of talk, so we gave you a short one. Let's finish up, and we'll be right at home.
All is energy. Even thoughts are forms of energy waves floating.
This is not the first time we've encountered this beat maker. So Robert Glasper had that band that put together that dope-ass instrumental for Big Crit that took them like fucking years to put together. And I double-checked Robert Glasper, and he's credited on that Big Crit album.
That's really cool.
And it did have that same kind of live instrument session feel to it. And the music was amazing. Now, let's talk. I think it's Datcha is the rapper, or Bilal. I'm sorry.
Datcha is he's the guy who opens it, and he's kind of like talking. Oh my gosh,
he's got like this spoken word vibe, and he's just questioning like the metaphysics of the universe and the sciences and the realities, and there was a lot to digest off of that verse. But it wasn't so much of a song as like this stream of ideas that flowed through it. So unlike the last track, I was hooked. It was like idea porn. And it's almost like 4 minutes before Talib Kweli even shows up on the track. It's just this guy talking for like 3 minutes straight, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Then there's a little instrumental break. Then Talib comes in with a little bridge thing and then drops into his verse, which kind of follows through it. And I got one lyric that really struck out to me because of the current nature of things. But we, the content creators, we greater than clickbait. And I think that it's the perfect summary of this album.
Man,
like, if
yeah.
there was one way he could wrap up every idea on this to the message, it's not that any kind of music sucks. It's that we're the content creators. We don't have to sell out. We don't have to have 15 reasons why you should get high on a Tuesday. Here's $20,000 for the strip club track. We don't need that shit. We could have more, is what I just felt all of that. And the whole song validates that the universe is so great because of all of the metaphysical bullshit that he puts right before it. So that when you get to this point and he drops these lines, you're like, he's made it abundantly clear there's a plethora of interesting shit to discuss that we could be. For me, this track's an excellent closer. It's a great experience for the like 6.5 minutes. It's fucking nice, and I give it a 4.5 on 5.
Yeah, I'm also inclined to agree. It's great. It's got the production is very pleasant, and it's minimalistic too, right? It's got this soothing piano melody, this kind of minimalistic percussion, this like hands clapping towards the end. And that intro is great. The talking is great. The thoughts of it. It almost felt like a preacher who's like giving you lessons on the universe, but lessons like we live on a planet amongst the system in a dark space, a planet amongst other planets, routing around the sun in the same fashion as electrons do around the nucleus, which form the cell, which form us.
Science, motherfucker.
Man. Really, I've actually taken note of that before and thought that was a fascinating thought.
Actual science, motherfucker.
Yeah. And then, this is like an extension on the quote that Holden had, but the Talib Kweli line that I really loved, or the series of lines I really loved, was, "The era of musical beautiful mistakes, delivered hand to hand like we slang in the mixtape. You trying to describe us, you might as well get it straight. We the content creators, we greater than clickbait. The passion for the culture, the vultures, they try to kill it. It's a war for your spirit. The lyrics is here to heal us." It's like, it's profound.
Yeah, it sounds better when you say it like that. But that one line, but the passage is great.
Yeah, the whole passage is really well put together. And that's just, especially that clickbait line though, right? It's the passion for the culture. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty profound, and it's true. We're greater than clickbait. And yet that is somehow how the internet requires most people to reduce their content to, is it's clickbait. Anyway, it's great. I really enjoyed this outro. I gave it a 4.7, and yeah.
And you?
I like the idea of being different and trying to break out of this mainstream box. And it's a lot of what I, if I understand it correctly, it's a lot of what I say and a lot of what I agree with, that if we want to listen to this music, they're going to give us this music. But also, he's right. You're the creator. You should be giving the music you want to make and not just try to sell out. So it kind of gave me another side of where the control in this hip hop game lives, where we the divide between like who's making what and who wants what actually lies. So I was pretty interested in that. Other than that, the beat's pretty cool for me. There's a lot more to dissect, and I really just gave it a 4 on 5. I didn't really think it was that amazing, but it wrapped up the album pretty nicely.
Anyway, so as far as this album goes, I give it a 4.55. I thought it was brilliant. I think it's one of the best albums that came out this year, for real. I'm really happy that we ended up reviewing it. It's intelligent, it's diverse, it's all over the place. I definitely think it does an effective job of saying you don't have to sell out. There's purity out there. And I dig it. I dig how he proves the value of the music, and I don't really think it's about who's in control of the industry. I think it's about proving that you can be dope while still being great. And that's what hip-hop was once about, and he's like from that era, and he's trying to bring that back. A lot of these old dudes is on that conquest, and I prefer this approach than, say, the whiny approach others take. be great by being great, you know? So 4.55 or so.
That's exactly the way that I feel too. So there's this thoughtful theme throughout the album of the contrast between the old school and the new school of hip hop, and yet he this is an issue that like is covered so prevalently, and he's one of the only people who handles it with a tasteful manner.
Very classy.
Very classy, yeah. And I think that he is such a gifted writer too, which is, you know, something that's I can't state how important that is, because I feel it's very hard to write the way that he does. He writes with good imagery at the same time balanced out to having these really interesting moments of wordplay, but he does it while he's taking this concept or a theme that he's progressing, and while he's progressing it, he has these micro moments of like, it's so artfully done. I give it a 4.5.
Nice. My score landed at a 4.8. I really enjoyed. My math is probably off, but anyway, somewhere on there. Let's just say it's a 4. It was a good album.
Did you just go from a 4.8
Dude, I can't
to
even
a 4?
remember what my score is at this point.
Like,
To tell you the truth, the album was great. I'm sticking around that 4 to 4.5, 4.8, whatever. It's a great album. I have nothing else to say about this.
All right.
I've honestly nothing
Thank
to
you
say
all
about
for watching. We all really appreciate you. In the comments, let us know your thoughts on the album to review. Keep in mind, if you leave that comment and then you do hit that like button and then you follow up with that subscription, you are in that contest to help us get to 1,000 subscribers. But really, even without the contest, your comments are great.
What do you stand to win again, Holden?
Oh yeah, $100 Amazon money plus
What?
request plus more Amazon money and requesting.
So you could get $100 just for leaving a comment.
And
Why haven't you done it
and
already?
Subscribing. But
Why
the
haven't you
comments
done
got to
it?
be relevant. So, I mean, as much as I love it when y'all just leave those go fuck yourselves, we do love the points it gets, but the qualitative of go fuck yourself because your review is fucking shit, you should have done your research because you missed this, that, and then you end up teaching me like 3 things, those ones are truly great. On that note, we really appreciate all of you, really. I mean, you stuck around this fucking long, so you're a wonderful person, and I hope you have a pleasant day, and we'll catch you at the next review. Eminem's coming in 2 weeks. Got the Revival release date, December 15th. Confirmed. Dr. Dre's Instagram.